You might be thinking a fender bender isn't worth calling a lawyer over. No one's hurt, insurance is involved. What's the worst that could happen, right? But I've seen this exact thinking and how it can backfire on people even in small crashes. You sign the wrong thing, you wait too long, and suddenly you're stuck paying for something that was not your fault. Hi, I'm Ted Spaulding. I'm a Georgia car accident lawyer, and I've helped people avoid these mistakes for over 20 years now. And in this video, I want to walk through with you exactly when skipping a lawyer could cost you and when you might actually be able to handle it yourself so you don't get pressured into making a deal that's bad for you, missing out on the compensation that you deserve, or ending up being stuck paying for someone else's mistake. So the crash seems minor. Why call a lawyer? Well, let's set this scenario up. Let's say you're going through Marietta or downtown Midtown Atlanta, right? And you get into a light fender bender, rear end collision. It's no big deal. You think, right, nobody's hurt. There's not a lot of property damage. But here's where people can really make mistakes because they don't realize what could happen. When you skip a lawyer in a small wreck like this, you may end up having bigger injuries than you think you do. See, I've seen even in low speed wrecks, these fender benders, as we call them, people having thousands of dollars in medical bills at the end of the day. Now, typically, it doesn't start right away. That's why you think it's not a big deal. You're not hurt the same day, maybe not even the next day. But the next couple of days, it starts to kick in. Now, this isn't in every case. And again, the large majority of fender benders, yes, everyone ends up being okay. There's not a lot of treatment, if any at all. But you don't know if you're going to fall into that small minority of cases where it ends up being much bigger. Therefore, you've got to act like it is from the very beginning. And that's where talking with a lawyer, not necessarily hiring them yet, but talking to a lawyer early may be very helpful for you. Because see, what you don't want to do is work against the system here in Georgia. That's delaying things, thinking things are fine, taking a small settlement early, and then to only later realize you really needed more treatment and you had a bigger case. The key thing to remember here is injuries don't always show up right away. You might feel totally fine at the scene, but a day or two later, your neck starts to stiffen up. You get headaches. You're not sleeping well. It's more common than you think. We see this all the time in our practice here in Georgia. It's whiplash. You have a concussion, soft tissue damage. And the worst part, if you already accepted a small settlement check quickly from the insurance company, because they're going to offer it to you, that money is the last money that you're going to see. It's it. You are done. No matter how bad it gets later on, that's the end of your case. I have seen folks take $500 for a bumper repair and later find out that their car had hidden damage. Or even worse, they take $500 for their injury case to only find out later that the sore neck was something much, much more. And it turned into thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in treatment. I've even seen the worst cases where, God forbid, it means surgery. And you actually have a $300,000, $400,000 case, even in these small rear end collision type cases. Well, guess what? Your case is closed and you're on your own. I want to take a moment that you remember in all of this, even in these small wreck cases, is insurance companies are not on your side. They might sound friendly on the phone, but their job is to save money, not to help you. They'll call quickly. They'll ask for a recorded statement, offer you a check that seems reasonable at the time. And in Georgia, if they can prove you were even partly at fault, just 50% or more, you get nothing. Even 10 or 20% fault put on you, that reduces your payout. They know the rules. They know the loopholes, and they use them against you unless you have someone who's on your side to fight and push back against those sorts of things. That's where having a lawyer, even in a small wreck case, may be very helpful. so you don't get taken advantage of from an insurance company. Now, the next thing is proving fault. What people need to understand is even in low impact, small wreck cases, you still have to prove fault. And you may be thinking, well, the other driver hit me. Why would I need to be proving fault at all? Because proving fault isn't always as easy as it looks. It's why you may need a lawyer. I've had cases where someone got rear-ended at a red light, for instance, and the insurance company still tried to claim they stopped too suddenly and caused the collision, caused their driver to hit them, or that their brake lights weren't working and therefore their insured didn't know that they were stopping or were stopped. They'll throw everything they can to argue against fault because it's the initial thing that you must prove, even in small wreck cases. And remember, this reduces your payout or means you're owed nothing if they can fight successfully fault against you. Even in small cases, the truth doesn't always speak for itself. You have to prove it. That is why having a lawyer in certain cases, even these small ones, is going to be very important for fighting back against fault determination. And here's my next bit of advice with small wreck cases and do you really need a lawyer? And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Your driving record is on the line. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I see a lot in cases where people call me up later and they've gotten themselves in a little bit of a pickle where the other driver talks them into settling it off the books, right? Oh, hey, we don't need to call the police. No insurance. Look, we'll deal with it on our own. It's a little small wreck. It's not a big deal. Why are we going to get all these people involved? And it seems reasonable at the time. So folks oftentimes succumb to this in these low wreck cases, but you're taking a big risk. And why? What I've seen happen is once you leave the scene, stories change, right? Then all of a sudden they're claiming they're injured. You've got no proof. You didn't have the police come out. You didn't call insurance. You didn't get any of the things that you needed. You probably didn't take photographs because you didn't think it was a big deal. These sorts of things. Well, now all of a sudden you're facing a claim that you were at fault. They're injured and they're asking to be compensated by you. You could get points on your license if they then call the police and have them investigate it and lie and say things happened a different way. That would be rare, but it could happen. That can stay with you and affect you. But more importantly, if you don't have the proof and then they flip this on you and file a claim, you're going to have this dinged against you on your insurance. So you don't want to do these things. So if you're in a small collision, you still want to call the police out. You still want to notify insurance companies. You still want to treat it as if it's a big wreck. Not only for the things I said earlier about what could happen to you going forward with injuries and things like that, but to protect yourself in case stories try to change. Get the investigating officer to say who's at fault and that sort of thing. Now, here's a bit of good news for you with small impact wrecks and decisions on hiring lawyers. In Georgia, hiring a personal injury lawyer doesn't cost you anything up front. We work on contingency. That means there's no retainers. You're not paying by the hour. You're not being invoiced monthly and you've got to come up with the money for the lawyer. And gosh, this is a low impact wreck and why am I spending all this money? This is where it's really advantageous on these low impact accidents because you can get a lawyer in essence for free up front. And then they're only taking a percentage. So if it ends up being small, they're not getting paid a lot of money. It's a small percentage of your small settlement because it didn't end up being that big, but you at least protected yourself. And that way you've got someone there in your corner. So it's really set up to be advantageous to you in small wreck cases. And again, I'm always an advocate of to at least talk to a lawyer. That's the starting point. At least get some advice, learn what your rights are, your particular situation, and what they recommend that you do. And then if it's higher, you can hire them and make that decision. That way you've got relief that things are going to be handled the right way. And again, you're not having to pay anything up front to do that. Now, if you found this video to be helpful, you're going to need to check out my next video, which is the 5 biggest mistakes people make after a car accident. Because even one small misstep can ruin your claim. Click over and I'll walk you through exactly what to avoid. See you there.